As he approached a busy street corner, he noticed a young boy sitting on the sidewalk. The boy, no older than 10, had a weathered face that didn't match his age. His clothes were tattered, and his sneakers were too big, clearly handed down from someone else. A small cardboard sign rested beside him. "Hungry. Anything helps." The boy's sharp eyes caught Barron's as he walked by. "Hey, mister," the boy called out, his voice a mix of hope and desperation. "You got $10? Barron stopped, startled by the directness of the question. He looked at the boy, whose hopeful gaze masked a deeper struggle. "What do you need $10 for?" Barron asked gently, kneeling to meet the boy at eye level. The boy hesitated, his small hands clutching the edges of his oversized hoodie. I want to get a sandwich, and maybe something for my sister," he said, motioning to a smaller girl curled up on a bench nearby. Barron's heart sank. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. But instead of handing the boy the $10, he said, "How about we go get that sandwich together?" The boy looked at him skeptically, as if wondering if the offer was genuine. "You mean it?" "Of course," Barron said with a warm smile. "Let's go." They walked to a nearby deli, where Barron let the boy pick whatever he wanted. The boy carefully selected a sandwich, chips, and a juice box, making sure to choose something for his sister as well. As they sat at a small table, Barron asked, "What's your name?" "Luis," the boy replied, taking a cautious bite of his sandwich. Barron nodded. "And your sister?" "Maria," Luis said. "She's only 6. It's been hard. Since our mom got sick, we've been staying wherever we can." Barron listened intently as Luis shared bits of their story. A father who had left years ago, a mother who worked 2 jobs before falling ill, and a system that seemed to have forgotten them. Luis spoke with a maturity beyond his years, but Barron could see the cracks where childhood innocence still lingered. After they finished eating, Barron asked, "Do you have anyone who can help you? Family? Friends?" Luis shook his head. "Not really. It's just us now." Barron thought for a moment, then made a decision. "Wait here," he said. He stepped outside and called a trusted advisor who worked with local charities and shelters. Within minutes, arrangements were made for Luis and Maria to stay at a nearby shelter that specialized in helping families get back on their feet. When Barron returned to the table, he said, "I've got a place where you and Maria can stay. They'll help you with food, clothes, and maybe even school." Luis's eyes widened. "Really?" "Really," Barron replied, smiling. "But there's one condition." Luis tilted his head, confused. "What's that?" "You promise me you'll keep being the amazing big brother you already are." Luis nodded vigorously, a small grin breaking through his serious demeanor. Barron walked Luis and Maria to the shelter, ensuring they were settled before leaving. As he watched them disappear into the warmth of the building, he felt a quiet sense of fulfillment. But he also knew this was just the beginning. The encounter with Luis and Maria inspired Barron to quietly start an initiative to support homeless children, focusing on providing resources for education and healthcare. Though he preferred to stay out of the spotlight, his actions spoke volumes, sparking a ripple of kindness that would help many more families in need. For Luis and Maria, that $10 request turned into a lifeline. One small act of generosity that changed the trajectory of their lives. And for Barron, it was a reminder that even in a world filled with noise and chaos, small moments of compassion could make all the difference. Luis and Maria's first night at the shelter was the best sleep they had experienced in months. For the first time, they didn't have to worry about the cold or where their next meal would come from. The staff at the shelter treated them with kindness, helping them settle in and making sure they felt safe. But for Luis, what lingered most was the stranger who had stopped to help. A young man who didn't just hand over $10, but gave them a chance at a new beginning. Meanwhile, Barron Trump couldn't stop thinking about the encounter. Though his life was filled with privilege and security, the meeting with Luis had struck a chord. He began researching homelessness and the systemic issues that led to families like Luis and Maria falling through the cracks. With the help of his family and advisors, Barron decided to expand his efforts beyond just a single act of kindness. The next day, Barron returned to the shelter, wanting to check in on Luis and Maria. He found them in the common room, Luis drawing on a piece of paper while Maria played with a donated toy. When Luis saw Barron, his face lit up. "You came back." "Of course," Barron said, smiling. "How's everything going?" Luis proudly held up his drawing, a simple but heartfelt sketch of the three of them at the deli. Barron couldn't help but laugh. "That's pretty good. You've got talent." Luis shrugged. "I like to draw. It helps me think." An idea sparked in Barron's mind. "How about this?" he said. "What if we got you some real supplies? Maybe some pencils, sketchbooks, even paint?" Luis's eyes widened. "You mean it?" "Absolutely," Barron replied. "But on one condition: you promise to keep working hard, both on your drawings and on taking care of Maria." Luis grinned and nodded. "Deal." Over the next few weeks, Barron began visiting the shelter regularly. He would bring art supplies for Luis, clothes and toys for Maria, and sometimes even groceries for the shelter itself. The staff and residents were initially surprised by his quiet demeanor and lack of publicity, but they quickly came to respect his sincerity. Barron's visits weren't just about helping Luis and Maria. They were about understanding the broader issues faced by the people at the shelter. He listened to their stories, learning about their struggles and dreams. Each story deepened his resolve to make a difference. Luis, with the encouragement and resources Barron provided, began creating art that amazed everyone at the shelter. His sketches grew more detailed, his imagination flourished, and soon his artwork was displayed on the walls of the shelter as a source of inspiration. One day, Barron brought one of Luis's drawings to a friend who ran a gallery in New York. The friend was so impressed that he agreed to feature Luis's work in an upcoming community art show. When Barron shared the news with Luis, the boy could hardly believe it. "Really?" Luis asked, his voice trembling with excitement. "People will see my drawings?" "Not just see them," Barron said. "They'll want to buy them." The night of the art show was a turning point for Luis and Maria. Barron made sure they were dressed for the occasion, and he stood proudly beside them as they entered the gallery. Luis's artwork was displayed prominently, and the crowd couldn't stop talking about the young boy's talent. By the end of the night, Luis had sold several pieces, and all proceeds went directly to helping him and Maria get back on their feet. More importantly, the exposure led to new opportunities, including a scholarship for Luis to attend an art program designed for underprivileged children. As time went on, Luis and Maria's lives transformed. They moved out of the shelter into a small apartment provided by a nonprofit Barron had connected them with. Maria started attending school, and Luis continued to excel in his art. Though Barron's visits became less frequent as life pulled him in different directions, he stayed in touch. Every once in a while, he would receive a drawing from Luis, a reminder of the day they met and how a simple $10 question had changed everything. Inspired by Luis's story, Barron launched a program called Creative Futures, a nonprofit dedicated to nurturing the talents of children in need. The program provided art supplies, music lessons, and creative workshops, helping kids channel their potential and build brighter futures. Luis became one of the program's ambassadors, often sharing his story at events. "Barron didn't just give me $10, he would say. He gave me a reason to believe in myself." Years later, Barron received an invitation to an art exhibition featuring professional artists. One of the headliners was Luis, now a successful illustrator and muralist. As Barron walked into the gallery, he saw a familiar face, Luis, standing beside a massive painting of a bridge stretching across a turbulent river. The title of the piece, "A Bridge of Hope,"